Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to the What a Deck profile for the No Mill Infernoid deck. I'm just going to go through everything that's in here, I'll name off the cards, and then I'll explain how they're used in the deck. So we've got 3 Infernoid Anuku, 3 Infernoid Deviatai. Someone in the comments tell me how to pronounce this. I don't know, I call it data plan. We've got 2 Infernoid Piety, 3 Infernoid Patrile, something, 2 Necroface, 3 Harmadic, I can get that one, 3 Antra, and 3 Infernoid Decatron. For spells, we've got 1 1-for-1, 3 Galaxy Cyclone, 1 Foolish Burial, 2 Void Seer, 1 Burial from a different dimension, 3 Void Imagination, 3 Void Vanishment, 2 Eye of the Void, and 2 Void Launch. Then for the extra deck, we've got 3 Infernoid Tierra, 2 Psyframe Lord Omega, 1 High Speedroid Kendama, 1 Honor Arc, 1 Giant Hand, 1 Musketeer, Alucard, Zenmaines, Daigusto Phoenix, Gachi Gachi Gantensu, and Slacker Magician. Pardon me. Side deck is mostly just other options for things you could throw in here. The only stuff I would consider actual side decking is Raigeki and Dark Hole. Those can be good in certain situations. And then maybe another copy of Void Seer, Eye of the Void, Void Launch, and yeah, 1 copy of each of those, just so you have extras in case one of these doesn't or does work particularly well against the deck. And then Twin Twister if you need more spell trap removal. Maybe swap that out for Galaxy Cyclone. So basically how this works is it's kind of a toolbox. Anuku and Data Plan are your 2 main guys. Anuku is going to destroy all monsters on the field, and Data Plan will destroy all spell traps except for your Void cards. So you're using them to clear the field over and over again and generate card advantage. They also have pretty high attack with 2,900 and 3,000. And in addition to it, the one that destroys all spell traps can negate a monster effect by tributing an Infernoid. The one that destroys all monsters can negate a spell trap effect by tributing 1 Infernoid. So you've got some additional negation with those. If you can get both of them out or them with one of your other Infernoids, then you can not only clear their field, but keep it clear by negating their stuff. We play 2 of this guy. He's going to, if he destroys a monster by battle, you can make your opponent discard a card. If their field's already pretty clear, and they're just setting cards, and you want to maintain card advantage, you can use him, but we only run 2 of him. All 3 of these you can summon from either your graveyard or your hand, so you don't feel bad about milling them or putting them in the graveyard. Wherever they are, you can get them out. And these take, both of these guys, they take 3 Infernoids. You've got to banish to summon them, and Piety you got to summon, or you got to banish 2. The rest of these take 1, and basically they just, again, it's kind of like a toolbox. Like this guy can destroy 1 spell trap on the field. This guy can destroy 1 monster on the field. And Antra can send 1 card back to the hand. 1 face-up card back to the hand. Decatron can send, when he's the only one you can normal summon without having to banish stuff. The rest of these cost banish, and these level 4 lower ones, just you have to banish 1 card. But Decatron you can normal summon. When he is normal or special summoned, you can send 1 Infernoid from your deck to your graveyard, and he gains its effect and its levels. He's also a tuner. So you can synchro summon if you want, although I rarely do that. But mostly he's just like, if you summon him out, if they have a lot of spell traps, you get the guy who can destroy spell traps. If they have a lot of monsters, you do that. If they have something that needs to be sent back to the extra deck, you can get Antra. So he can just steal whatever their effects. He can also steal these guys' effects. He won't be able to blow up the field because that's when they're summoned. But he will be able to negate spells and traps, so there's some use in that, especially because if you already have these guys out, you can normal summon him. The rest of these, all the Infernoids have the effect that you can't summon them if you control monsters, affect monsters who have levels of 8 or higher. So, if you have either of these 2, you can't summon out more monsters, more of your Infernoids. Because you're banishing everything, we play Necroface. Necroface will shuffle all the banished cards into the decks, and he'll gain 100 attack for each. He's just sort of there as like a setup to help replenish your deck. Honestly, I'd probably only play 1 of him, maybe put another Piety in there, because there were too many times when I got him when I didn't need him. He's really only useful if you're getting in a long game, sort of like a stalling out game. 1 for 1 lets you summon your Decatron while putting Infernoids in the graveyard. Galaxy Cyclone, just good spell trap removal, and you can discard it with Frozen or Void Vanishment. Void Vanishment is a continuous spell. You can discard 1 card to add one of your other voids from your deck to your hand, which is why we play 2 of these 3, because you can search it out with Void Vanishment. And of course you could send your Galaxy Cyclone and use it from the grave. You can banish any of these from the grave. So it's a good card overall. It also has the effect that if one of your Infernoids battles your opponent's monster, you can send this to the graveyard to banish both monsters. So it's got a little added tech there, although it's mostly just used as a search card. Obviously, because you want stuff in the graveyard to use as fuel, we have Foolish Burial. Void Seer is going to make your Infernoids unaffected by your opponent's card effects, and then you can banish it from the graveyard to make it so they can't be destroyed by card effects. And this is pretty useful protecting your big monsters and such like that. Again, it has an effect in the graveyard, so you can use it with Frozen Void. You can search it out with Frozen Void. Just a good general defensive card. You need a little bit of a defense in a deck like this. Burial from a different dimension is going to let you put these banished monsters back into your graveyard, so that's useful. Of course, it's only at 1. Eye of the Void. Special summon 1 Infernoid from your hand, ignoring its summoning conditions, but its effects are negated this turn. This can be pretty good, like not top deck card, but if you're stuck with one of these 2 and you don't have the material to summon it, this can be really good because you can get it out on your opponent's turn to defend, and even though it won't blow up everything, if it survives that turn, it can negate stuff next turn. So this is pretty good for helping getting rid of those brick hands. Awakened, or Void Launch. Sorry, I almost read the text up there. But Void Launch. During your standby phase, you can send 2 Infernoids from your deck to your graveyard. This is near essential because this is going to help you filter what Infernoids you want into the deck while saving all the rest of your spell traps that you want to use. Of course, you could search it out with Void Vanishment. So that's why we only play 2 of them. Plus, when I had it at 3, oftentimes I would end up with like 2 or 3 copies of this, in which case you just banish everything and then you have nothing left in your deck, and these are just uselessly there. And finally, Void Imagination, the star of this particular deck. So this has a couple effects. First, all your Infernoid monsters are level 1 when they're on the field, which means that level 8 limit doesn't really affect you anymore. You can summon both of these in 1 turn. Or any amount of these if you can. But the effect damage, but the battle damage they inflict to your opponent is halved. Of course, you can blow this up with Galaxy Cyclone once you summon all the monsters onto the field. So there's and then attack for a whole bunch, so there's that option. This has the other effect that you can send this to the graveyard, because this is continuous. Send this to the graveyard to fusion summon 1 Infernoid fusion monster from your extra deck, using monsters from your hand or side of the field, and if your opponent controls a monster summoned from the extra deck, you can also use up to 6 monsters from your deck. This is the key player of this deck. This is how we can get a bunch of stuff in the graveyard without having to mill things. Because you summon Infernoid Terra using up 6 or more monsters, and you can just fill up your extra deck with copies of Anuku and Data Plan, and just get things really going. Plus, this guy by himself, 3,400 attack, nothing to really snark about. Just good overall in general. Just a beat stick. So, that's the basic plan. Get this guy out, summon out Tierra, and then from there just use these 2 and these little ones to just destroy everything your opponent has until they have no cards left, essentially. The rest of these, I don't really use in the extra deck. They're mostly just there in case you need them. You've got 2, you've got 3, 4, 5. So you can make one of any of these. And of course with Void Imagination they all become level 1, so you can make Slacker Magician. Most of the time it's better to just have them out, but there's the option. If you get like 2 of these, you can make Gachi Gachi if you really want to. The reason we have Psyframe Lord Omega and High Speed Roid Kadama is they can have effects that they can activate in the graveyard. He can send a card from the graveyard back into the deck and put himself back in the extra deck. And when he's in the graveyard and you control no cards, you can special summon him, so he's a defense wall. And I guess I forgot to mention with Tierra, if you use 5 or more monsters with different names, which you almost always do, or sorry, 3 or more, each player sends 3 cards from their extra deck to the graveyard. So you can send 2 of these if you want to shuffle stuff from your opponent's deck into the graveyard into the deck. I usually send one of these. Or you can just send more copies of Tierra. Because he's an Infernoid, you can banish him to summon them with all the other effects. So there's the deck in a nutshell. The only side deck cards that are really worth interesting. Elder Entity Natis. This isn't out in the TCG or America yet whatsoever. But this would be a really good card to go with this once it does come out, because if this is sent to the graveyard, you can destroy 1 card on the field. So to be able to summon this, and then send 3 3 of these to your graveyard, and blow up 3 cards is just an amazing plus. I didn't include it because I didn't want to do that, because it's not out. I wanted to make a deck that you could actually make, but if you're just net decking, throw 3 of her into there. You can also synchro summon, because Decatron is a tuner. It's kind of inconsistent, because you can't really... It's kind of not random, but you're not necessarily going to have the stuff to synchro summon all the time. And the levels, no one has the same level, so it's hard to predict. But if you wanted to fill this out with synchros instead of Ixies, you easily could. Leave more Ixie options. Miracle Dig I had in here for a while instead of Necroface. Works almost as well if 5 or more of your monsters are removed from play. You can return 3 of them to the graveyard. It's just a good way to reset your graveyard. Of course, because you have to banish 3 for these, it's only 1 play's worth of cards. So I found Necroface worked a little bit better in that regard. Raigeki, you'd have to be a fool not to play it. Dark Hole, especially for these, because you can't summon more monsters if you have one of these 2 out. So sometimes if you already have them out, it's better to Dark Hole, get rid of all your opponent's monsters, and then summon one of these back out so you can like destroy all their spell traps again. Just get the effects again. And then the rest of these are just other options for milling cards without milling them randomly. You got Dark World Dealings, Magical Stone Evacuation. You can discard 2 to get one of your spell cards back, which allows you to run less spell cards, or maybe more focused on recycling this. Fiend Griefing, target 1 monster in your opponent's graveyard, shuffle into the deck, and then send 1 Fiend monster from your deck to the graveyard. And these are all Fiends, so that'll work. And finally, Pride of the Week. When a level 2 or lower monster you control destroys an opponent's monster by battle and you have no cards in your hand, draw 2 cards. This is the original premise for the deck, was using this, because Void Imagination makes all your monsters level 1, and these can easily destroy your opponent's monsters by battle, and then you're going to be drawing 2 cards. Oftentimes you'll set stuff or throw stuff into the graveyard, or you'll banish it, so you oftentimes have no hand in this deck. So that can work. I just found it getting out both this and having these and keeping them protected, it was just a little too messy. But there's definitely an idea for a deck there. So there's everything. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Have fun playing this. Next week I'll be looking at Shurnai. I think that's how you pronounce it. Until then, good luck and have fun.